Tonight on KGW News, an industrial explosion rocks the town of Canby.
And it just shook our house, and then our back door popped open.
With neighbors told to steer clear overnight in case of another blast.
And federal officers are ordered to stop indiscriminately tear gassing protesters at Portland's ICE facility.
Oh my God!
Like, you're so disoriented in those moments. You can't see, you can't breathe, you can't hear.
Plus, the beloved Portland business that goes back decades now up for sale. The owner's hopes for its future. Then later, how a mother and son Seahawks super fan duo are diving into Super Bowl excitement without going to the big game.
I love every moment of it. Spending time with my mother. I love just, my first, like NFL experience.
But first to our top story, and an industrial explosion in Canby, one that blew the roof off a building and debris into the air. Tonight, one person is hurt and those in the area are still under evacuation orders. We're talking about a 600-foot radius surrounding the explosion site near Southwest 3rd and South Redwood that's been cleared out at least until the morning. Out of an abundance of caution and concern, there could be another explosion. The sound of an explosion in Canby, captured by Amber Sump's doorbell camera. She wasn't home at the time.
So many people started texting me, calling me, asking if I was okay and what was happening.
Well, this photo shows smoke rising around 4 Tuesday afternoon in an industrial area southeast of 99E. Witnesses reported the ground shaking.
And I know this is tough on folks to be evacuated from your home, but this is the safest thing for us to do.
Fire crews, including from Aurora, Clackamas, and TV-FNR, zeroing in on Kitty Hawk Products, a company that uses high pressure and temperatures to make metal parts. The fire chief saying one of their high-pressure tanks, some 15 feet tall, exploded.
There was 3 employees that were present at the time of the explosion. All 3 are evacuated, with one with minor injuries.
Windows, doors, and the roof, it appears, blown off. Neighbors capturing images like these of debris raining down.
Yeah, big chunks of insulation that were on top of their roofs.
From what I know right now, it's all within a quarter of a mile or less.
With any fire out, as night fell, surrounding streets were shut down as a drone surveyed the damage. With businesses and homes under a hazmat emergency alert and level 3 evacuation orders. Amidst concerns, another tank could go.
It's unnerving, to say the least. And that's it's unnerving to not know.
No kidding. Tonight, the Red Cross has opened an emergency shelter nearby at Baker Prairie Middle School. The fire chief telling us they'll reevaluate vaccination levels at 8 Wednesday morning, depending on the heat that's still in the second tank. Developing tonight, a federal judge has temporarily banned federal officers at Portland's ICE building from using things like tear gas and pepper balls against protesters, at least in most circumstances. Alma McCarty breaks down the ruling and reaction.
The indiscriminate use of pepper balls, tear gas, and other chemical irritants by federal officers banned, unless the person they're targeting, quote, poses an imminent threat of physical harm to officers or others. Those restrictions handed down by a federal judge in a temporary restraining order Tuesday.
I can't personally think of a single court order that the administration has followed yet. I don't believe it's going to make a difference, but I sure hope it does.
This order comes just days after federal officers fired tear gas and set off flashbang grenades into a large crowd of hundreds of peaceful protesters over the weekend. Among those caught in the fray, Joseph Apoka and Tamsin Johansson.
No warning at all. Nope, they just opened the gates, told everyone to start pushing back with their hand signals, which we all started doing, and then they just started launching tear gas and shooting at us anyway.
These are considered to be, non-lethal forces, but I want to offer that, what happened to our flag was at most 12 inches from my head at most. If that had hit my head, would my face look like that flag?
Homeland Security defending their response, characterizing demonstrators as rioters who violently stormed the ICE facility. The TRO went into effect immediately and stems from a lawsuit filed last year alleging First Amendment violations and excessive force. One of the plaintiffs, Jack Dickinson, known as the Portland chicken.
There's been these really big fluctuations in terms of periods of really intense violence from the agents, lots of chemical munitions deployed, and then we'll go a month where it's 15 people a night and the energy is much more diminished.
But following the events of the past 2 weeks, he says there's an upswing in action and a need for this order.
You could argue that there's enough wiggle room in this one that they could, kind of justify anything as a threat. At least now it's going to make them think twice about doing it. And if they decide that they don't want to follow this order, we'll be able to hopefully quickly follow it up with some action.
When asked for a statement on the judge's order, Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said, in part, despite grave threats and dangerous situations, our law enforcement has followed their training and used the minimum amount of force necessary to protect themselves, the public, and federal property. No word yet on whether the federal government will appeal. The temporary restraining order runs for 14 days. David.
Alma McCarty in the newsroom tonight. Thanks, Alma. Well, meanwhile, one effort by Portland city leaders to regulate the ICE building, so to speak, appears to be delayed. You might remember councilors passed an ordinance in December that would fine the landlords of any building like the ICE facility if they fail to stop toxic chemicals like tear gas from impacting the surrounding area. But turns out the city has yet to set up a process to levy those fines. Councilor Angelina Murillo spearheaded the effort and is frustrated, as you might imagine, by the delay.
We had been working on this policy for 6 months prior to it actually passing, so the executive side was fully aware that this was coming up and that there was potential for passage.
A spokesperson for the mayor saying they are working to finalize the framework for enforcing fines and expect to have that completed by the end of the week for council to review. All right, to a traffic alert tonight that has Highway 26 closed on the west side. Both east and westbound lanes are closed just past Banks. That's on the way to the coast. That's after a crash on the roadway around 8:15 this evening, with ODOT expecting a lengthy closure. Do note there is a detour set up if you need to head that way. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, the latest partial government shutdown is over, and now Congress will have to get on the same page when it comes to funding for Homeland Security. The legislation signed by President Trump today includes budgets for almost all government agencies through September. Lawmakers, though, have less than 2 weeks to work out a deal on changes to ICE, including things like requirements around body cameras and masks, and to approve that funding. In Arizona tonight, the FBI has confirmed it is now involved in the search for Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother. Authorities in the Tucson area say, at least publicly, they have no idea where 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie is, but they're following all tips and leads amidst reports of possible ransom notes. It's been nearly 3 days since they believe Nancy was taken from her home against her will. Investigators say they do not have a suspect, but they took DNA samples from Nancy's home, and they're waiting on full results.
Do you believe that Nancy Guthrie is alive?
I'm not, I will not give up on that. We have nothing else to go on but the belief that she is here. She's present, she's alive, and we want to save her.
Search and rescue crews have been canvassing the foothills, and neighbors are being asked to check their security cameras for anything suspicious. And back in the Northwest, Tigard police used thermal imaging from a drone to try and track down a stabbing suspect, though they're still on the loose tonight. Authorities say the 33-year-old man was stabbed around 7:15 this morning behind a row of businesses on Southwest Cascade Avenue near Shoals Ferry. The victim was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Police say they have questioned one man, but he was since released. Anyone with information here should contact Tigard Police. All right, to a live look now from our Wells Fargo sky camera on this Tuesday night, where the fog will roll in spots for the morning, but by the afternoon, let's just say it's going to feel more April than February. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri is here with the first look at your weather impact forecast. Sounds warm.
It is going to be warm, and so far this winter has been more spring-like than winter really since December, and that's going to continue heading into tomorrow with temperatures right around the low 60s. Now I'm forecasting a high tomorrow of 63 degrees. The record is 60. Thursday is going to be just a couple degrees cooler, but both Thursday and Friday are going to be very nice, and looking at the chance at seeing some record-breaking temperatures. So tomorrow morning, there will be some patchy areas of fog. Most of that, though, will be in the Lynn and Lane County area. There could be some clouds along the east side of the state as well, throughout the parts of the Columbia River Gorge, I should say. By late morning, we're at 55 degrees, on our way to a high of 63. So the clouds, at least in the northern part of the valley, will melt away pretty quickly. As you can see, by 11 o'clock, this is the area that will be seeing most of the cloud cover, just south of Salem into Corvallis and Eugene. Meanwhile, we're going to be seeing nothing but sunshine the next 4 days. Coming up in my full forecast, David, I'll let you know when the rain arrives and how much rain we could see when it does move in.
No, because we need the rain and the snow. Thanks, Joe. Tonight, we're continuing to follow the money when it comes to some $20 million in unspent funds for the city of Portland, apparently found in the Housing Bureau. Now, this may sound familiar because last year, roughly $21 million in unspent dollars were also discovered in the Portland Housing Bureau. I mean, talk about Groundhog Day, right? Some city councilors are now calling for an investigation into how the Housing Bureau is managing its money.
Having a new surplus is just going to make the public a little bit less comfortable with us. We got to get a handle on how we're doing accounting.
A city spokesperson telling us they recently discovered funds have accumulated over years and had not been budgeted, adding, quote, many of these funds come from restricted or policy-directed sources, including short-term rental fees, and have historically been allowed to accrue to support future affordable housing preservation. All right, so what's next? Well, the city spokesperson says some of the money will go into a so-called rainy day fund. City Council set to review options later this week, is also looking at using more of it to support renters, build affordable housing, and to backfill the general fund.